Tennessee buries its own history, underwater, under forest, and under classification. A secret city of 75,000 people did not appear on a single map until 1949. An earthquake rang church bells in Boston and sent the Mississippi running backward. Right now, behind a fenced lot in Knoxville, roughly 120 decomposing cadavers lie exposed to the elements in the name of science. Those are just 3 entries on a countdown of 25 of the strangest, darkest facts hiding inside the volunteer state. Starting at number 25 with the city the government tried to erase. Number 25, Oak Ridge was a city built to disappear. In 1942, the United States War Department seized 59,000 acres of Tennessee farmland, an entire landscape erased overnight. Behind fences and checkpoints, a population that would swell to nearly 75,000 lived and worked in total secrecy. 4 uranium plants, Y-12, K-25, S-50, and the X-10 graphite reactor operated under armed guard, their purpose unknown even to many inside. For years, Oak Ridge did not exist on any public map. Only in 1949 did the United States Geological Survey finally print its street grid, revealing a city that had been hidden in plain sight. Oak Ridge stands as the largest act of deliberate erasure in Tennessee's history, a living community wiped from the record, its true story only surfacing after the world changed forever. Number 24, the Bell Witch haunting stands as the only American ghost story immortalized by a state historical marker. Between 1817 and 1821, the Bell family farm in Robertson County became the stage for relentless, unexplained disturbances, including disembodied voices, violent attacks, and a terror that drew national attention. In October of 1819, Andrew Jackson, the future president, reportedly halted his journey to the farm, unnerved by what his aide called the most extraordinary phenomena. That diary entry, preserved in the Library of Congress, anchors the legend in the historical record, even as Jackson's own writings remain silent. The Tennessee Historical Commission's marker, installed in 1977, does what no other state dares. It officially names a supernatural event. Here, folklore is not just remembered, it is sanctioned, blurring the line between myth and history and adding a spectral erasure to Tennessee's long tradition of buried truths. Number 23, the ground beneath western Tennessee once convulsed so violently that the Mississippi River ran backward. In the winter of 1811, and again in early 1812, 3 massive earthquakes, each estimated near magnitude 7.5, struck the New Madrid fault zone. Eyewitnesses described the river surging upstream, swallowing entire forests and leaving dead fish tangled in the treetops. Within weeks, the Earth's upheaval dammed tributaries, carving out a new body of water, Reelfoot Lake, nearly 15 square miles, born from chaos. Sediment cores dated to that year confirm the lake's sudden birth, a permanent scar left by nature's unchecked power. In Tennessee, even the land can erase itself overnight. Number 22, Memphis. In 1878 became a city erased by disease. As yellow fever swept through the late summer, the death toll climbed to nearly 3,800, roughly 12% of the population, while panic and flight turned the streets silent. In September, the mortality rate surged to 30%. The devastation was so absolute that the Tennessee General Assembly revoked Memphis's municipal charter in early 1879, stripping the city of its legal identity. For nearly a year, Memphis existed only as a memory, its government dissolved by law. Only after federal intervention and a rebuilt water system did the city's charter return in January 1880. Here, not just lives, but the very idea of Memphis was wiped from the map, a civic disappearance written into the state's official record. Number 21. Just outside Knoxville, the University of Tennessee's Body Farm began with a simple charter on July 15, 1972. What emerged was a controlled landscape of death, a place where the secrets of human decay are exposed to the elements and to science. Here, bodies are laid out in the open, buried shallowly or submerged, each one a silent experiment in time and biology. The first breakthrough came in 1974, when remains found in the woods along Molten Creek were analyzed with methods pioneered at this very site. That investigation led to a homicide conviction, marking a turning point in forensic history. Over 1,000 cases have since drawn on data from these grounds, where the dead are studied not for burial, but for truth. In Tennessee, even the process of decomposition becomes a kind of unburial, a science that insists on revealing what the soil would rather keep hidden. Number 20. Beneath the rolling hills of Monroe County, a silent world stretches out of sight. The Lost Sea. Here, the boundaries of Tennessee vanish into darkness, swallowed by a lake that covers nearly 4 acres, its waters holding steady at 58 degrees year-round. Early explorers in 1911 mapped what they could, but the cavern's true scale remained a rumor until a 2021 LiDAR scan revealed almost 3 miles of unmapped passages, snaking beyond the known chamber. At its deepest point, the lake plunges 75 feet below the surface. An abyss so clear that divers can see the stone bottom, yet so vast that its farthest reaches remain untouched. The Lost Sea is the largest non-marine underground lake in the United States, a submerged labyrinth where time, light, and memory dissolve. In Tennessee, even the earth itself hides its secrets, folding whole worlds beneath layers of stone and silence. Number 19. When darkness falls over the Great Smoky Mountains, a secret spectacle emerges. Thousands of synchronous fireflies, Photinus carolinus, pulsing in perfect unison. For a few nights each year, across 12 square kilometers of forest, their flashes lock into a rhythm. One burst every 0.55 seconds, a living signal that sweeps through the night like a wave. The effect is so precise, so improbable, that even seasoned biologists call it a natural orchestra. This fragile phenomenon depends on near total darkness and temperatures between 24 and 27 degrees Celsius. But as light pollution creeps in, the synchronized display falters. The National Park Service now enforces strict, dark sky rules. No headlights, no campsite lanterns, trying to hold back the erasure of this wild, luminous code. Here, the Smokies guard a pulse that can vanish with a single stray beam, a living secret at risk of being drowned out by the modern world. Number 18. Tennessee's underworld is a labyrinth that defies the surface map. Beneath the hills and valleys lies a network of nearly 10,000 known cave entrances, one of the densest concentrations in North America. But the true scope remains hidden. At least 30% of these portals lead into darkness that has never been fully mapped or measured. The National Speleological Society's registry counts over 3,000 entrances still unsurveyed, leaving entire counties with more ground unknown than known. This unmapped territory is not just a geological curiosity, it is a living economy, fueling $45 million in annual tourism and attracting biotech researchers hunting for microbes found nowhere else. In Tennessee, the earth itself is a vault of secrets, swallowing rivers, towns, and time. Every uncharted tunnel is a reminder. The state's greatest mysteries are often buried just beneath our feet, in a world where the boundaries of the map dissolve into black. Number 17. Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary became the stage for one of Tennessee's most infamous escapes. On the night of October 9th, 1979, James Earl Ray, the convicted assassin of Martin Luther King Jr., vanished into the earth beneath his cell. Armed with nothing more than a pocket knife and a length of scavenged pipe, Ray carved a tunnel stretching 55 feet through limestone and concrete. The passage snaked under the prison walls and emerged in the wild thicket beyond, a feat that exposed the institution's deepest vulnerabilities. For 54 hours, Ray evaded the largest manhunt in the state's history before highway patrol officers found him exhausted near Stony River County, trying to steal a car. The escape triggered a total security overhaul with reinforced floors, electronic fences, and a new era of surveillance. Ray's bid for freedom earned him an extra 10 years behind bars, but his tunnel remains a scar in the prison's foundation. A man-made cave echoing Tennessee's endless appetite for concealment and escape. Number 16. The Tennessee Valley Authority's reservoir projects rewrote the geography of entire communities, sometimes with little more than a memo. In 1941, design documents for Tellico Dam set in motion the submergence of Butler, a living town, and the forced relocation of its people. By the late 1970s, as Tellico Lake swallowed 16,000 acres, bureaucrats ordered the exhumation and reburial of 27 graves, their markers lifted from the earth and moved to higher ground. Letters of protest from the Bureau of Indian Affairs went unanswered, the legal boundaries of memory redrawn by water. Here, the map itself becomes a tool of erasure, where homes, histories, and even the dead are displaced to serve a greater plan, and the landscape forgets what once stood beneath the surface. Number 15. Tennessee's legal existence flickered in and out of recognition during the Civil War, its identity suspended by force of paperwork. On June 8, 1861, a popular referendum delivered a decisive verdict, 68% in favor of secession, making Tennessee the last to leave the Union. For 5 years, the state's status was neither fully Confederate nor entirely erased, a legal limbo marked by confiscated property and disputed authority. It was only after ratifying the 14th Amendment on July 24, 1866, that Tennessee became the first former Confederate state readmitted to Congress, its sovereignty restored with a single act of ratification. Congressional records and the original secession ordinance bear witness to a period when the very idea of Tennessee was suspended, not just by war, but by the shifting tides of law, a state that vanished and then reappeared, redrawn on the map by the signatures of men who could erase or restore a people's place with the stroke of a pen. Number 14, at the summit of Clingman's Dome, the forest itself is vanishing. The Fraser fir, once the signature tree of the Smokies' highest peak, has suffered a silent massacre, stripped bare by the woolly adelgid, an invasive insect no bigger than a grain of rice. Between 1999 and 2005, USDA surveys recorded a staggering 70% mortality among these ancient firs. LiDAR scans from 2020 reveal a 3% drop in canopy cover across the high elevations, a wound visible even from space. This die-off has shattered the fragile habitat of the endangered spruce fir moss spider, pushing it to the brink. Here, the state's ecological identity is being erased in slow motion, a biological loss echoing the legal erasures written elsewhere in Tennessee's history. The summit stands as a warning. In Tennessee, even the oldest living things can disappear almost overnight, leaving only stumps and shadows in the mist. Number 13. The fate of the 19th Amendment hung on a single man inside the Tennessee state capitol. On August 18, 1919, the House chamber held its breath as Harry T. Byrne, a young lawmaker from McMinn County, sat with a letter from his mother tucked in his pocket. The roll call was deadlocked. Byrne, expected to vote no, instead rose and cast the deciding eye, flipping the tally to 97 in favor, securing the final state needed for women's suffrage nationwide. Later, his mother's note surfaced. It read, "Be a good boy and help Mrs. Cat put the rat in ratification." That scrap of paper, now preserved in the state archives, transformed a legislative stalemate into a mythic act of personal agency. In Tennessee, even the course of national history can hinge on a private word, a family bond, and a single, irreversible vote. Number 12. A temple from another world rises in the heart of Nashville, a full-scale Parthenon built not as a ruin, but as a deliberate act of myth-making. Erected in 1897 for Tennessee's Centennial Exposition, this 115-foot limestone colossus stands as an exact, one-to-one replica of the ancient Athenian original. Every column, every frieze, was measured to the inch, as if the city intended to overwrite its own landscape with a borrowed past. In 2022, more than 750,000 visitors crossed its threshold, drawn to a monument where the boundaries of fact and fantasy blur. Inside, a 12-foot Athena presides. Installed in 1920, her gaze fixed on a city that crowned itself the Athens of the South by sheer force of architecture. Here, the map is redrawn not by accident, but by intention, and Tennessee's history bends to the will of stone and spectacle. Number 11. The Walker Line marks a border mistake that warped the identity of two states for more than a century. In 1797, surveyors set out to draw the line at 36 degrees, 30 minutes north, but their instruments drifted miles off course, carving out a no-man's land between Tennessee and Kentucky. For generations, families living along this invisible fault line found themselves trapped in bureaucratic limbo, forced to pay taxes to both states, sometimes holding two driver's licenses just to cross their own property. The confusion escalated into a drawn-out legal battle from 1903 to 1908, as the U.S. District Court inched toward a solution that would finally realign the boundary and order compensation for the double-taxed. Even after a 1922 court order, some residents spent years living with dual obligations, their lives shaped by a cartographic error that turned the map itself into a stage for legal spectacle. Here, the very edge of Tennessee becomes a reminder, in this state, even the lines meant to define reality can dissolve into contradiction. Number 10. The Scopes monkey trial of 1925 turned a small-town courtroom into a national stage, but much of what the world saw was carefully orchestrated. Behind the spectacle, Dayton's civic leaders and legal teams engineered the event for maximum attention, hiring James Fairchild, a local showman, to reenact the creation and evolution debate as nightly theater for curious crowds. Trial transcripts reveal opening statements rehearsed for effect, each crafted to stoke headlines and draw reporters from across the country. The Manchester Courier exposed these moves in real time, documenting how the town became a set. The lawyers became actors, and the media became part of the script. What began as a legal test of the Butler Act became a performance, blurring the line between justice and show business. In Tennessee, even the most famous courtroom drama was less a battle of ideas than a carefully staged pageant, where history was rewritten in real time, not by verdict, but by spectacle. Number 9. The name Dolly Parton conjures rhinestones and radio hits, but in Tennessee, her reach is measured in millions of books and hundreds of millions of dollars. The Imagination Library, launched in 1995, has now placed 2.5 million books into the hands of children, growing at a staggering 12% each year, a philanthropic engine humming quietly beneath the spectacle. Meanwhile, Dollywood's 2022 audit reveals a different kind of force, with $112 million in ticket sales, $94 million in lodging, and a total revenue of $456 million, all funneled into the Appalachian economy. Here, the spectacle is not just for show. Every roller coaster and storybook is a lever, shifting the fate of a region that once hid its poverty behind the mountains. In a state where history is often submerged or erased, Dolly Parton's legacy stands in plain sight, rewriting what it means to be remembered. In eighth place, a train that never ran its promised route became Tennessee's most enduring ghost. In 1941, the world first heard the whistle of Chattanooga Choo Choo, a big band anthem written by Harry Warren and Mac Gordon for the film Sun Valley Serenade. Glenn Miller's recording sold over 1.2 million copies, earning the first gold record ever awarded in the United States. The lyrics painted a journey from New York to Chattanooga, but the real tracks never matched the myth. Today, the song's legacy anchors a hotel and entertainment complex built inside the city's old terminal, transforming a musical fiction into a living landmark. Here, Tennessee's history is recast in melody, a place where a tune about an imaginary train becomes a destination, and a million listeners board a ride that never truly existed. Number 7. Tennessee gave birth to two musical detonations that reshaped American music. In the summer of 1927, a rented room above a Bristol furniture store became the unlikely epicenter of the country music explosion. The Victor Talking Machine Company's field crew cut more than 30 songs in 2 weeks, capturing the voices of the Carter Family and Jimmy Rogers, names that would anchor the genre's mythos. A quarter century later in Memphis, Sun Records cracked open the vault of rock and roll. Sam Phillips recorded Rocket 88 in 1951, a track whose distorted guitar and driving rhythm would be claimed as the first true rock hit. Sun's roster included Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, and Jerry Lee Lewis. They ignited a second Big Bang, this time in the language of rebellion and electric sound. In these rooms, Tennessee did not just invent a song or a star, but entire genres, exporting its contradictions and wildness to every corner of the country. The echoes still radiate outward, proof that the state's strangest power is to conjure new worlds from hidden corners and forgotten studios. Number 6, the Sunsphere stands as a glass and steel relic of Knoxville's brief moment on the world stage. Rising 266 feet above the city, this golden orb was engineered as the crown of the 1982 World's Fair, a spectacle meant to dazzle, then disappear. Inside, a 5,500 square foot observation deck promised panoramic views. But within weeks, the sphere's mirrored panels began to sweat. Condensation pooled on the glass, blurring the skyline and turning the interior into a greenhouse. Engineers scrambled to retrofit the HVAC system in 1983, installing dehumidifiers and air circulation fans to fight the Tennessee humidity that no blueprint had anticipated. Today, the Sunsphere endures as an architectural oddity, listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Its strange legacy sits between failed climate control and an enduring icon. In a state defined by what it hides or erases, here stands a monument that cannot help but reveal itself, sweating beneath the sun. In the 5th place, Graceland stands as a shrine to celebrity and a machine of economic gravity. Each year, nearly 777,000 visitors cross its gates, pilgrims drawn not by civic duty or natural wonder, but by the myth of Elvis Presley. The estate ranks as America's sixth most visited private residence, trailing only icons like the Biltmore and the White House, yet none blend personal history with mass spectacle so completely. Graceland's tourism alone injects around $120 million into the Memphis economy annually, sustaining over 2,200 jobs in hospitality, retail, and transportation. Here, a single home eclipses entire drowned towns in economic impact, its presence rewriting the city's fortunes. The house itself becomes a paradox, both museum and mausoleum, a monument to memory that refuses to be buried. In Tennessee, even a private mansion can reshape the fate of a city, proving that what is preserved in plain sight can be as powerful as what the state chooses to erase. In fourth place, the legend of Lookout Mountain's seven-state view dissolves under the sharp edge of modern science. For generations, the mountaintop's 2,388-foot summit has drawn travelers with the promise of a horizon that sweeps across Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, Kentucky, North Carolina, and Virginia. But a 2020 Geographic Information Systems model from the University of Tennessee cuts through the fog of folklore. The analysis shows that only 6 states, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, Kentucky, and North Carolina, can be seen from the peak, even on the clearest day. No line of sight reaches a 7th. The myth persists in brochures and postcards, a stubborn echo of promotional invention. The map becomes a mirror for the stories Tennessee tells about itself, where even the view from the highest ground is shaped more by imagination than by fact. In third place, a quiet revolution in American leisure began with a patent filing in Chattanooga. In February 1939, John M. Miller secured United States Patent 2,122,045 for a miniature golf course, complete with concrete greens, artificial hazards, and a scoreboard system. 4 months later, Miller's Mini Golf opened its gates, inviting Depression-era families to test their skill on a landscape engineered for play. Within 6 years, more than 150 courses had sprung up across the country, each one a descendant of Miller's blueprint. What started as a local oddity, just a stretch of sculpted turf and painted obstacles, spread through wartime America, rewriting the very idea of public recreation. Here, a small invention slipped out of Tennessee's shadows and into the national bloodstream, proving that even the lightest amusements can leave a deep and lasting mark. In second place, the world's best-selling American whiskey is made in a county where buying a bottle is illegal. Moore County, home of Jack Daniel's distillery, has been dry since 1909, a legal contradiction that persists by design. Every year, nearly 800 workers produce millions of gallons of whiskey in Lynchburg, yet state law forbids local residents from purchasing it. This paradox is preserved by a 1947 grandfather clause from the Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission, allowing production and limited on-site sales to tourists under a special permit, but keeping retail shelves empty for those who live there. Despite this prohibition, Jack Daniel's pumps $100 million into the local tax base, funding schools and services in a place where whiskey remains both lifeblood and forbidden fruit. Here, the law chooses what to remember and what to erase, sustaining an economy built on the delicate fiction of a dry county that runs on liquor. Tennessee's very name is submerged beneath Tellico Lake. The word comes from Tanasi, a Cherokee town that once stood along the Little Tennessee River, a name spoken long before it appeared on any state map. In 1979, the Tennessee Valley Authority finished the Tellico Dam, flooding 16,000 acres and erasing the birthplace of the state's identity. 12 Cherokee sites, including burial grounds, were exhumed and relocated by federal order. Bureau of Indian Affairs records describe grave markers lifted, boxed, and moved while protest letters went unanswered. Rising water swallowed Tanasi's remains, erasing the living memory of a people and a place. The state's namesake survives only as a ghost beneath the lake. Tennessee's origin is now sealed underwater, its past redrawn by the logic of a reservoir. The final act of erasure. The state that forgets itself. Across these 25 mysteries, one pattern stands. Tennessee is a landscape of deliberate forgetting. Cities erased from maps, epidemics scrubbed from memory, bodies cataloged in secrecy, and 1,000 miles of darkness beneath our feet. Here, history doesn't simply fade. It is submerged, locked away, or renamed. In Tennessee, the strangest truths are those we are never meant to see. Which secret unsettled you most? Let us know below.